not just visual. BTS's Jungkook's good looks make netizens lose focus. BTS's Jungkook name is back in the limelight, but this time it's not just because of his music achievements, streaming records, or global accomplishments. The wave of conversations that filled the social media timeline actually departed from something that was considered simple, but turned out to have a big impact: his good looks. A word that may sound corny, but when applied to Jungkook, its meaning becomes much more complex and deep. Many netizens admitted that they lost focus, not because of the sensation alone, but because the aura emanating from the figure of this idol feels increasingly different. In recent times, every appearance of Jungkook, whether through official uploads, live broadcasts, to accidental video cuts from fan cameras, always triggers a chain reaction. The comments column was filled with expressions of surprise, admiration, and even bewilderment. Not a few say that Jungkook's visuals are now distracting, not in a negative sense, but because his charm feels so strong that it is difficult to ignore. This phenomenon raises one big question among netizens. What exactly makes Jungkook's good looks feel so different from other idols? If you look deeper, Jungkook's good looks are not just a matter of a symmetrical facial structure or a distinctive smile that is easily recognizable. There is another dimension that helps shape public perception, namely emotional maturity, which is increasingly visible with age and experience. Jungkook, who used to be known as the innocent magne, now comes with the aura of a calm, confident adult man, but still keeps the warm side that is familiar to his fans. This change creates a strong contrast and actually strengthens its visual appeal. Korean to international netizens are busy discussing how Jungkook's gaze now feels, telling a story. In some close-up videos, her eyes look deeper, as if carrying the burden of a long experience as an idol who grew up under the spotlight of the world since her teens. The look, according to many fans, made them forget the context of the video being watched. The focus that should have been on a particular song or discussion was distracted by Jungkook's facial expression, which was considered so intense and honest. This phenomenon also cannot be separated from the way Jungkook carries himself in front of the camera. They don't try to look perfect too much. Hair that is sometimes left a little messy, a tired expression that is not hidden, until a small smile that appears spontaneously actually creates an authentic impression. Many netizens said that Jungkook's good looks felt human, not the result of mere visual construction. This is what makes people feel emotionally connected, not just visually captivated. On the other hand, discussions about Jungkook's good looks also led to interesting reflections on the visual standards in the K-pop industry. During this time, visuals were often viewed as the result of carefully designed concepts, makeup, and lighting. But Jungkook goes beyond that. Even in the simplest conditions, without flashy makeup or pretentious stage fashion, he is still able to steal the show. This makes some netizens argue that Jungkook's good looks are natural and consistent, independent of the situation. Social media is also a space where this phenomenon is growing rapidly. Snippets of videos lasting a few seconds can go viral simply because Jungkook's expression is considered absurd for an ordinary human being. There are those who claim to open a video with the intention of seeing a certain content, but end up replaying it many times without realizing it. Comments such as, "I forgot what he said," or "I have to watch it again because it's too focused on his face," become repetitive and almost a collective joke. But behind all the praise, there is also a more critical discussion. Some fans stressed that Jungkook isn't just a visual marvel. They were worried that the excessive focus on good looks would overshadow Jungkook's hard work, talent, and dedication as a musician. Jungkook himself is known as a perfectionist who is directly involved in the creative process, intense vocal training, and consistent self-development. Good looks are just one layer of a much more complex figure. Interestingly, it is precisely this combination of visuals, talent, and attitude that makes Jungkook feel so distracting to focus. When a person realizes that behind such a handsome face there is hard work, modesty, and humility, admiration becomes double. Netizens were not only captivated, but also felt inspired. Jungkook became an example of how true charm does not stand alone, but rather grows out of character and life's journey. Amid the growing spotlight, Jungkook has remained relatively consistent. He did not use his good looks as a means of provocation or cheap sensationalism. On the contrary, he seems to be more careful in his attitude, as if he is well aware of the influence he has. This adds another layer of appeal, respect from the public who see her not just as an idol, but as a mature and responsible individual. Finally, this netizen lost focus phenomenon is a reflection of how BTS's Jungkook has grown beyond his initial label. Good looks that used to be considered bonuses are now part of a grand narrative about growth, perseverance, and self-identity. Not just visuals that spoil the eyes, but an aura that brings stories, emotions, and long experiences. Jungkook was not only seen, but felt his presence, and maybe that's where the real power lies. When someone is able to make others stop for a moment, forget about the hustle and bustle of the digital world, and fall silent just because of one simple look or smile, it is no longer a matter of mere faces. It's a charm born from the journey of life, and BTS's Jungkook, without saying much, continues to prove just that. The continuation of this narrative is all the more interesting when the public begins to realize that Jungkook's good looks do not stand alone, but move along with the changing phases of his life. Jungkook today is no longer a teenager who grows clumsy under the glare of cameras, but a mature man who understands who he is and how he wants to be seen. This maturity is evident in small gestures that often go unnoticed at first glance, such as the way he listens to the interlocutor, the way he lowers his head while laughing, or how he looks at the camera without the impression of trying to captivate. It was precisely this accident that made many netizens feel attacked by her charm. Some observers of popular culture consider Jungkook's phenomenon to be closely related to the so-called charisma gap, the distance between public expectations and reality. Jungkook never explicitly claimed to be handsome or made visuals his primary identity. When the public expects to see a perfect idol that is far from real life, Jungkook actually comes with an image that feels close. It is this contrast that makes his good looks feel stronger, because they are not imposed and are not aggressively communicated. International netizens even began comparing Jungkook to public figures outside the K-pop industry. Some call it having an appeal like a classic film actor. Others see it as a representation of modern masculinity that is not rigid. It can look strong and soft at the same time, a rare combination. In one moment, he can appear charismatic on stage with a sharp gaze, while in another moment, he looks innocent and warm when he smiles a little while talking casually. This natural emotional shift is what makes many people find it difficult to let go of sight that on platforms like X, Instagram, to TikTok, discussions about Jungkook's good looks evolved into lengthy analyses.